You know that feeling, right? When you're just exhausted by the internet, like you're drowning in noise. Well, you are definitely not alone. In today's explainer, we're going to dive into William L. Weaver's really powerful argument for how we can escape the chaos of the modern internet. And the solution isn't unplugging, it's about building a much smarter defense. To really get our heads around the problem today, we've got to rewind the clock a bit to a sound that, if you're a certain age, you will absolutely remember. That old dial-up modem sound. It wasn't just noise. It was the sound of a boundary, a buffer between us and the raw data of the internet. And as Weaver argues, losing that buffer, well, that's the key to everything. So, here's our game plan. We're going to break this all down into 6 parts. We'll start by figuring out why we're all so digitally exhausted. Then we'll walk through a pretty chilling analogy from The Matrix, and we'll end with a powerful, engineered solution for taking back our focus.
Okay, first up, the sound we lost. This part is all about understanding what we gave up when we got this seamless, always-on internet connection.
You know, that crazy screeching sound? That was the proof that a machine was doing the dirty work of translation for us. It was this really clear, audible boundary that basically said, hey, a machine is handling all this raw data, so your brain doesn't have to. Today, that boundary is just gone, and we're plugged directly into the static.
So what happens when that buffer just disappears and we're jacked directly into all that noise? Well, that brings us to the real heart of the problem that Weaver identifies, the human router problem.
See, in this age of social media, we've basically been turned into what Weaver calls human routers. We've been put to work, whether we know it or not, in these giant information factories, and our job is to constantly sort through an endless stream of digital noise.
Just think about what your brain is actually doing every single time you scroll. You're performing this super high-energy task second by second. You're deciding what's valuable, what's just rage bait, what's an ad, and what's total junk. It is constant, low-level, and exhausting decision-making. And here's the crucial point. We're using the most advanced parts of our brain, the parts that are designed for deep thinking, for strategy, for connection. And we're using them for the most basic, repetitive data filtering tasks imaginable. Weaver calls this an energetic disaster, and it's exactly why we feel so completely drained at the end of the day.
To really drive home just how dangerous being a human router is, Weaver gives us this absolutely brilliant analogy from a classic sci-fi film that just perfectly illustrates our whole situation. Okay, so in The Matrix, there's this huge difference, right? The resistance was online, they used a tool, and that modem screech was their constant reminder of that boundary. But the rest of humanity? They were inline, totally, seamlessly integrated, with zero separation between themselves and the system. They weren't users, they were just components. And what Weaver argues is that over the last decade, big tech has quietly, systematically removed our hard line. They got rid of the logon sounds, the handshakes, everything. We've slowly drifted from being operators who are online to being components who are inline, powering this whole machine with our attention, a lot of the time without even realizing it. Okay, so if that's the problem, that we've become parts in a machine that's just draining us dry, what's the solution? How in the world do we engineer an escape? Well, the answer isn't to just throw our phones away and go live in the woods. According to Weaver, it's about deploying a whole new kind of technology, AI agents, to build our buffer back and protect us from the noise. And this brings us to what he calls the Agentic Web. In this very near future, you won't be scrolling through feeds anymore. That's just going to seem old-fashioned. Instead, you'll just give a simple command to your personal AI agent, and you'll send it out into the noise to find the signal for you. This new way of doing things totally reframes our relationship with the internet, and what it creates is something Weaver calls a distilled internet. The core idea here is just wonderfully simple. If the internet is becoming this chaotic, noisy place filled with AI-generated junk, then the only rational thing to do is to send our own AI filters out to deal with it for us. This creates a whole new battlefield. There's a digital war raging on in the background. Marketing bots fighting your shopping bots, propaganda bots fighting your filter bots. But the key here is it's a war we no longer have to personally fight. The machines are handling all that screeching static for us. And what's the result of all this? It's not that dystopian dead internet that everyone's afraid of. No, it's a distilled internet. A quiet, high-signal, curated space where you only see what is truly valuable to you.
delivered by an agent that actually understands your priorities. All right, let's bring this all home with the final big idea, the protocol droid defense. This is how we finally reclaim our focus. We're entering the third major phase of our relationship with machines. In the industrial age, humans were basically cogs in the machine. In the information age, we became the human filters. But in this new agentic age, AI is finally mature enough to handle all that low-level work, freeing us up to be human again. And this is just the perfect metaphor. C-3PO is a protocol droid. His entire job is to translate the machine world. He deals with the noise from moisture vaporators and binary load lifters so that Luke can focus on the big picture, on his destiny, on the Force. We all need our own protocol droids. And that's really the bottom line. The solution isn't to disconnect or to leave the network behind. It's just to build a better interface. We are simply reinstalling that buffer, a really, really sophisticated modem to protect our minds so that all the screeching can finally stop.
And this leaves us with one final thought for you to chew on. Seriously, think about it. What's the very first mundane, draining task you would give to your own personal protocol droid? And once that's taken care of for good, what truly important thing are you going to focus on instead?